Good afternoon. I'm Lieutenant Colonel Ron Daniels, Senior Aerospace Instructor, Air Force Junior Reserve Officer Corps, Washburn Rural High School. I would like to welcome everyone to our Air Force Junior ROTC's 8th Annual Veterans Day ceremony. I wish we could all be together for this celebration today, but since we can't, please enjoy this memorial to those who served wherever you are. John F. Kennedy said, "As we express our gratitude, we must never forget that the highest appreciation is not to utter words, but to live by them." I agree with President Kennedy, and I'm sure that most veterans agree as well, that when you thank us for our service, not only thank us in words, but thank us in actions, with your kindness toward your fellow men and the honor in which you live your life. At this time, I would like to make some special thank yous. Dr. Scott McWilliams, Superintendent, and all our school board members. Mr. Ed Raines, our principal. Mr. Luke Chaffee, Mr. Michael Mills, Ms. Megan Bishop, Mr. Martin Weischer, Mr. Jeff Henshaw, and Master Sergeant Wayne Long. And the 71 cadets of our Junior ROTC unit, would you please stand at this time and be recognized? Please be seated. And finally, I would like to introduce Cadet Second Lieutenant Tristan Wakefield, who will be our host for this ceremony. Cadet Wakefield.
Please stand with me as we present the colors and for the singing of the national anthem by this generation. Please be seated. Let us pause for a moment and recognize the graduates of Washburn Rural High School who made the ultimate sacrifice for their nation. Charles Brown, U.S. Army, Korea, class of 1921. Jack Lee, U.S. Army, World War II, class of 1935. Richard Keeshon, U.S. Army, World War II, class of 1935. Don Smith, U.S. Army, World War II, class of 1940. Ronald Conroy, U.S. Army, Vietnam, class of 1965. Jeremy Drexler, U.S. Army, Iraq, class of 1999. Please keep them in your heart and mind as we honor them today. Cadet Colonel Sasha Joy, please read President Biden's Veterans Day proclamation.
America has the greatest armed forces in the history of the world. To those that serve and those that serve alongside them, their families and caregivers, we owe a debt we can never fully repay. During National Veteran and Family Military Month, we recognize and thank them for their indispensable contributions and immeasurable sacrifices in support of our national security. As we approach this season of Thanksgiving, we send our gratitude to the millions of service members, veterans, military families, caregivers, and survivors who have served and continue to serve our nation. I have said many times, and it comes from my heart, we as a nation have a sacred obligation to properly equip and prepare our troops when we send them into harm's way, and to support them and their families both while they are deployed and when they return home. The First Lady and I know that it is not only the person who wears a uniform serving our country, but also their families who make enormous sacrifices for our nation. As the poet John Milton wrote, they also serve who only stand and wait. We understand the feelings of pride, uncertainty, and fear when a loved one is deployed. Every morning, you wake up and say an extra prayer for them. Our veteran and military families do so much and ask for so little. They are strong and adaptable, changing course to accommodate the needs of our country, often foregoing personal wishes. They are capable and proud, holding down the home front during their loved ones' deployments, coping through their absence and the risk of danger, and helping them readjust when they come home. These families and their soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, Guardians, and Coast Guardsmen are simply the best America has to offer. When they do not have what they need to thrive, it is not only the individual who suffers. If service members are worried about their spouse struggling to keep food on the table, or that their child is having a hard time at school, it is harder to focus on their mission. That is why supporting military families is a national security imperative. Since the earliest days of my administration, we have committed to a whole-of-government approach to responding to the real-time needs of our military and veteran families. Through Joining Forces, the White House initiative to support veteran and military families, caregivers, and survivors, my administration is addressing the military spouse employment and entrepreneurship, military child education, and family health and well-being. The First Lady has met with our nation's military and veteran families, caregivers, survivors, and advocates to learn how we can better support and prioritize their needs. Those discussions help inform the efforts across the government to share data, create innovative solutions, and implement evidence-based programs and policies. In September, Joining Forces and the National Security Council released a report outlining the first round of administration-wide commitments and proposals for supporting military and veteran families, caregivers, and survivors. We are committed to continuing these efforts because we must, and we will, honor our sacred obligation to support our military and veteran families and ensure they receive the resources they need to thrive. Throughout November, we show our appreciation to the spouses, partners, children, and caregivers of our service members and veterans for their selfless sacrifice on behalf of our nation. We honor them in their invaluable contributions. We share their pride in our armed forces, and we will never forget what they and their loved ones do for us. Now, therefore, I, Joseph R. Biden, Jr., President of the United States of America, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Constitution and the laws of the United States, do hereby proclaim November 2021 as National Veteran and Military Families Month. I call upon the people of the United States to honor veterans and military families with appropriate ceremonies and activities. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand this 29th day of October, in the year of our Lord 2021, in the independence of the United States of America, the 246th. Joseph R. Biden, Jr.
Thank you, Sasha. The military cast is filled with symbolism. One of our most revered and sacred symbols is before you now. This table is our way of symbolizing the fact that members of our profession of arms are missing from our midst. They are commonly called killed in action, missing in action, and prisoners of war. But we call them brothers and sisters. They are unable to be with us today, so we remember them because of their sacrifice. The table is set for one, symbolizing each warrior, each individual who made the ultimate sacrifice so that others may remember. The tablecloth is white, symbolizing the purity of their intentions to respond to their country's call to arms. Remember. The single rose displayed in a vase reminds us of the families and loved ones of our comrades in arms who now live without them. Remember. The vase is tied with a red ribbon, symbolizing our continued love for those resting with God. Remember, a slice of lemon is on the bread plate to remind us of their bitter fate. Remember, there is salt upon the bread plate, symbolic of the family's tears as they mourn. Remember, the glass is empty. They have emptied their glass of life in order to keep the glass of freedom full. Remember, the chair is empty. Although they are gone, our brothers and sisters are not dead until they are forgotten. Freedom is not free. Remember, today we pay tribute to them and recognize their sacrifice for freedom in the United States of America. In their memory, we must live our lives with honor and integrity, so their price shall forever be paid, and that freedom may forever reign. Everyone, please rise. Military in uniform, please stand at attention for the playing of Taps by Maria Bures and Bailey Broxterman. This concludes our ceremony. Thank you, veterans, for securing our nation and making this day possible. Cadet Corps, attention! Dismissed.
Hey, cadets, go ahead.